Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Jason Mackey's First 10, a short podcast talking all things Pittsburgh sports. Today is Monday, November 11th, and actually, I'm recording it on Sunday, November 10th in my hotel room in Frederick, Maryland. So greetings from there. Just finished a dinner at Anchor Bar, an excellent place, normally in Buffalo. I've not ever seen one outside of Buffalo, but there's one in Frederick, Maryland, and it was outstanding. So anyway, that's where we stayed after Steelers 28, Commanders 27 at Northwest Stadium. An entertaining game for sure. We'll spend a lot of this episode breaking that down. Also want to talk a little Pitt, little Penguins, but first want to remind you that we're brought to you by Edgar Snyder and Associates. If you're injured in this accident, you're probably wondering what's next. For over 40 years, Edgar Snyder and Associates has helped injury victims answer that question. Whether it's gathering evidence, collecting medical records, or dealing with insurance companies, Edgar Snyder and Associates has helped over 75,000 people handle what's next. Call 1-800-994-EDGAR or visit edgarsnyder.com for a free consultation. And remember, there's never a fee unless they get money for you. All right, so we knew it wouldn't be easy, right? The Commanders off to an excellent start. The Steelers very much feeling the effects of that. Going to offer a few random takeaways from this game, but one, not necessarily number one, just one of them fits into this narrative. Jayden Daniels is pretty good. Commanders are pretty good, frankly. I don't think this was a pushover. This was a game that the Steelers really needed to win. If you look at, where they were at, 6-2, where they need to get to, 11 wins, maybe 12 wins. Am I getting greedy? I don't know. But winnable games the second half of the season. I look at Cleveland. There's 2 there. Baltimore, I think would be fine if they split with Baltimore. Bengals, maybe you win both. I don't know. You've got an Eagles game that looms large. That's not an easy place to play, certainly not for the Steelers. The Chiefs coming in here on Christmas. That's also not easy. You'd like to get this one, right? Well, the Steelers did. It took some doing, certainly. I was a little worried there for a while, to be honest with you, late in the second, early in the third quarter. Washington was able to move the ball pretty well, but I think the defensive stops, the defense really asserting itself happened over the final 3 drives, basically. You saw Cam Heyward. Cam Heyward was really good today, by the way. That's another takeaway, just looking like his younger self, dominant, 2 sacks, batted a pass. But Cam really started to get after Jayden Daniels. TJ Watt gets after Jayden Daniels. You saw the Steelers defense look like you would expect the Steelers defense to look, right? So that was a pleasant surprise, and then that bought them enough time to figure it out with Russell Wilson. Mike Williams going downfield. Another takeaway, it's just a special play there, 32 yards on a play that wasn't even designed for him. It was designed for Calvin Austin. In comes Mike Williams, and he's fantastic. So there's some stuff going on with the Steelers right now, I think is things that you can kind of bank on, positive things. My biggest one, though, Russell Wilson. And our Joe Starkey wrote about this, and he wrote an excellent column talking about Russell Wilson is a real one. Can handle himself late in games, is a legitimate, 9-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl winner, everything the Steelers thought they were getting. He can make any throw you could possibly want. And you know what? This wasn't even a great game by him today. That's what I'm most impressed by. Early on, he was off. You could see it in his reads. You could see it in what he wasn't seeing. You could see it in the placement of some of the balls he was delivering in practice and games. He's a lot more pinpoint, exact, and wasn't quite that way. That's the impressive part is it didn't matter. It didn't matter what he did in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. Russell Wilson was able to revive them, was able to give them what they needed down the stretch. The ball he threw to Williams was fantastic. You can't throw that any better. And he did that a couple times. Pickens down the sideline, Pickens in the right corner of the end zone, the matrix catch where he's like contorting his body. Some really good stuff there. We haven't seen quarterback play around here like that in a long time. Maybe Mason Rudolph briefly. But, this is a lasting thing. This is something that should endure with the Steelers and give them a chance to maintain this strong start, now up to 7-2. There's a whole bunch more that goes into that argument, too. One of the things that I think is very impressive about what they've done is Mike Williams, is Preston Smith, adding at the trade deadline. I don't understand why more teams don't do that in the NFL. I understand not learning the playbook, but don't give me the playbook stuff when Mike Williams went out there and did what he did. You can figure that out. He can figure out how to run deep, catch the pass from the. Mike Williams talked about this after the game. He basically did that during the game. Said he's watching Russ, trying to stay loose, watching Russ throw, see what he's looking at. You can make use of players. I was very impressed by that. Preston Smith. And now with injury to Alex Highsmith, doesn't look great, by the way. He was seen on crutches after the game. Could really factor into their pass rush rotation. So it's an aside. I don't understand why teams don't add more at the deadline, but the Steelers did, and they look pretty good for it. Have a couple more Steelers thoughts I want to get to on the other side of the break, again, as well as a few Penguins topics involving Tristan Jarry, what the Penguins should do, and how to feel about Pitt after an ugly loss to Virginia. But first, a short message from the Bradenton Area Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Embrace the laid-back charm of island life while sinking your toes in the sand and discovering real, authentic Florida in the Bradenton area. Unspoiled beauty and pristine beaches, a vibrant waterfront downtown energized by local arts and culture, fresh Floridian cuisine with a flourish of rich history, and friendly locals ready to welcome you to this preserved paradise on Florida's Gulf Coast. Plan your visit today at BradentonGulfIslands.com.
And welcome back to First 10. I'm your host, Jason Mackey. We're here Monday through Friday, middle of the morning, about 10 minutes, talking all things Pittsburgh sports. Thank you so much for finding us. Right now, we're recapping a Steelers win, 28-27 over the Washington Commanders. And again, the defensive side of it really started for me after the Commanders went up 24-14 in the second half, and the Steelers defense just tightened down. I don't know, 3 first downs after that point, 2 first downs, something like that. Really impressive stuff. So the Steelers are 2 now for the first time since 9-0 in 2020. Teams that opened the season 7-2, by the way, they reached the postseason 92.3% of the time. So things looking very good for the Steelers. A lot of this game was decided in the second half. The Steelers were actually scored upon in the third quarter for the first time this season, but they still figured it out, got enough done. They've outscored their opponents. This jumped out to me, 135-55 in the NFL. That's the best point differential in the second half this season. All right, a few other takeaways. George Pickens, my goodness, ridiculous. 5 for 96 and a touchdown. He's a completely different receiver with Russell Wilson throwing him the ball. With Russell Wilson a quarterback, he's a top 5 receiver in the NFL for my money. We saw flashes of this. It's also funny to think back a couple weeks ago when this guy was like a problem. We're talking about load management, all this nonsense. No, you just need to keep him entertained. It's like a dog you need to walk. You know, you do that, you throw him the ball, you keep him involved. He's spectacular. And he was so good today. Really, really impressive with that. My final impression before I go on to a couple other things is just the Steelers being able to kind of win ugly, right? Like this wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing game. That's okay. They drive down to the 1-yard line. Jaylen Warren fumbles. Not good. I don't have a problem with this call. I completely back Mike Tomlin on it. I'm fine with given what they saw, but the James Pierre drop on the fake punt. If you have the defender crashing in, there's nobody blocking him. You can watch the replay and see Miles Killebrew call for the audible, which he confirmed afterward. It was something they noticed all week and we're going to run. I don't care if you're on your 1. If you see that, that play should be completed. That's on James Pierre to not haul the ball in. Doesn't make it a bad call. Russell Wilson throws an interception, whatever, but the Steelers playing some impressive complementary football, figure out a way to get it done. All right, we're nearing the end here, so I want to touch on a little bit of Tristan Jarry stuff. He's back with the Penguins. There's no guarantee he's going to play a lot, though. I find that strategy curious. Because ultimately they need to get Tristan Jarry back into the mix sooner than later. No offense to Joel Blomqvist. He was very good in Washington on Friday night. This isn't his time. They need to figure out what they have with Tristan Jarry. If you got to play Blomqvist down in the AHL, that's fine. For now, that's good. You got to try to give your number 1 goalie a chance. I find it interesting, though, and I mean, they're going to make Tristan Jarry earn his way back into the net, and I get that. But I'd be very curious to see how they manage a 3-goalie system. I don't think there's enough reps for that at the NHL level. What do you do with Ned? Do you bench him? He's been outside of about 2 games, been kind of iffy. We'll see. You know what is the key to me, though, is how can they replicate that third period in Washington? Is that something with staying power? Can they defend like that? If they can defend like that, I think Tristan Jarry is going to be just fine. And happen. I think Tristan Jarry is going to be just fine in general. But if you're going to defend like that, that's a really, really good sign for the Penguins. We'll see. They have 2 home games, Monday and Wednesday. I'll likely be there on Monday, not on Wednesday, but home for a few here after they've been on the road a bunch. Actually, I lied. Then they go to Columbus on Friday. I'll be taking that trip. But either way, a week of hockey as well. College football, just wrapping it up quickly. I could not believe the call that was made in the Pitt, Virginia game. Could you? I mean, the officials were not set. On 4th and 1, Pitt gets a stop. Doesn't matter. The officials weren't set. If you look at the rule book, that's a 5-yard penalty. Pitt was completely screwed over by this. I feel bad for them, but at the same time, it's never one call. The offense has been not good. They did not do enough to stop Virginia, and they deserve to lose. And it's unfortunate given how the season started for Pitt. Now you're looking at SMU, the egg laid there. You're allowing officials to dictate your outcome. What they need to do is fix the offense and figure out what's going wrong. I mean, step number 1 is the health of Eli Holstein. That's a little bit worrisome. He went out with what looked to be a concussion. Need to get him back healthy. Nate Yarnell was not the answer. Some of the balls he threw up deep, can't have that. They need to figure out what they were doing through the first 5 games. Do more of that and not what they've been doing over the past few. This offense has looked mortal. It's looked confused, overwhelmed at times. That's not what we saw. They involved Desmond Reed a little bit more. Still didn't love it. They can get him the ball more than they did on Saturday night against Virginia. We'll see if they're able to do that. Saturday noon, home against Clemson. Pretty big game as the Pitt Panthers try. At this point, I guess it's to stay in the bowl race. You're not really playing for an ACC championship game. That ain't happening, barring some real craziness. But at this point, you want to save space and stop the spiral, right? All right. Thank you for watching this. Make sure you like and subscribe. You get all of this content and much, much more from our Post-Gazette team. Be back here same time, same place tomorrow. Thanks for watching First 10, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.